everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to discuss Mercury retrograde and what's really happening, especially for this first Mercury retrograde. And you saw already my first introduction before part of my video, were made for your convenience to really understand the bigger picture of the whole entire year. So I'm going to post this introduction as a separate as well. So anytime you want to see really specific days, what's happening with Mercury, you can check this small video I create for you. So what's happening really right now? Let's dive in, really understand, because this is not a typical Mercury retrograde with the sense it's an unusual long one. You know how Mercury jumped from one sign to another, and then suddenly he decided to stay longer in one and do all his retrograde and then stationary and then movement. So the whole team this month and even a little bit next month as well, it's all about energy of Capricorn. And we can really underestimate what is really Capricorn. It's not enough just to think about Capricorn as someone or energetical force who constantly want to achieve, height in the career and status and, to be in charge, so to say. This is a really practical sign of high qualities. And it's really good. And Mercury is here. Mercury can help us in our mind, because Mercury is extremely important planet. Remember, this is the planet which is represent our communication, our mind. It's coming from the tree of reality, or Chokhmah, the wisdom as well. It represents wisdom. And because this month we have, as you can see right now in the chart, we have Venus retrograde. And she's retrograde in Sagittarius. Why we need to know about that? Because really ancients put a lot of emphasis on Mercury. What is really relationship? Relationship, it's all about communication. And many times we mislead and misread what really Mercury represents in our chart. I have to tell you, just by looking at people's chart and see how the Mercury communicate with Venus, I can really tell easily what kind of communicators they are. Forget about Moon. Moon, it's our deep emotions. It's definitely important, but we can't underestimate the Mercury, because Mercury is our communication on a really daily, outside, inside of our immediate circle. And what's important, I will give you a very important tip to understand your partner, to understand your children, to understand your parent. Let's say you're born with Mercury retrograde. So the way many times it's really need to be look at the chart in what house Mercury and what energetical forces represent, what shape, what closing it have. I'm talking about the sign, and as well what vessel it's in, right? So Mercury can be, for example, inside of Pisces, but in 11th house. So it's wearing the closing of Pisces, but it's in a vessel of 11th house of Aquarius. I'm not trying to complicate things for you guys. Opposite, I'm trying to simplify it. We're here to learn astrology. We're not here to just listen and to have a short understanding, limited. I want you to expand your mind, the way how really Mercury wants us to operate. I want you to understand what is really Mercury. Mercury, it's very important. But we need to understand the Mercury first in our natal chart. As soon you really understand your Mercury, you know how to control your Mercury. Otherwise, Mercury completely taking over of your mind. So let me come back to what I initially want to explain to you about your natal chart. Let's say you're born with Mercury retrograde. So for you, the retrograde period, it's less heavy than for people who are born with stationary Mercury. Why? People who are born with stationary Mercury, they're more focused, and they more set with their ways, so to say. People who are born with Mercury retrograde, they have a little bit fogginess, like a little bit foggy. They have sometimes a little bit harder time to remember things, but they're more flexible with the new ideas. Okay, so there's two ways to look at it. Now, what's happened when the people who have a partner, for example, let's say your partner have Mercury retrograde in your stationary, it can create a lot of misunderstandings. It's almost sometimes you feel then you're saying one thing and your partner completely understand different things. And it's, by the way, it's not because your partner don't love you or doesn't want to understand. Your partner just the way how Mercury retrograde people understand things, they sometimes have a little bit extra closing, so to say, a little bit more foggy. And the way how they see things sometimes in multi layers. People with Mercury stationary, they more focus, more set their ways, they more, more specific. So as soon you know that both yourself and your partner need to come together to understand each other, because you cannot change your partner cannot you change your cannot change you. So the best way to go is the main tool for relationship. It's try to so to say sit in the chair of another person. You don't have to become this person, but at least to understand where this person coming from and why certain misunderstandings. It's really important. So just giving you some tips, because this whole month of and whole period of Mercury retrograde, which is going to be in Capricorn, I will tell you right now more specific days as well, which is what you already saw in the video too. We need to really to evaluate and to rethink our communication skills. It's going to help you. I'm going to tell you guys for the 12 houses how it's going to affect all 12 signs. You will see, I will create a completely separate video for each sign. So you will definitely connect, but this is my general video. I want you guys to watch because it's general for everyone. Another thing I want to give general tip for all 12 signs, because the Capricorn represent financial stability and money, the real financial stability coming from when you know how to share. So this is the excellent month to, if you don't do donation, if you have never done donation, I encourage you to run and to find organization where you do your research, do your homework. I'm not telling just go blindly donate, but definitely make an effort to find an organization where you can donate on monthly basis. And because of the months of Capricorn, I recommend the first donation can be done more uncomfortable. What I mean by uncomfortable, to give a little bit more than you think you can. Because what's happened is soon first of all, we start new year. We start new months. It was just Rosh Chodesh months, new months according to the Hebrew calendar. We just enter new months of Aquarius, which is represent two letters Tzadik Bet. But in order for us to really to create proper seed, seed is everything. You can change when the ready seeds start to create the shape after seed. If it's the tree, you cannot change the tree anymore. Only when it's in a seed, you can really invest maximum you can. So I do recommend to all of you, in order for you really to enter to new level of blessings and protection, because it says in the Talmud, in the Gemara, in all our old books, in the Zohar, if you study Zohar, then donation can save your life. In Hebrew, it's matzil mi'amavet. It's extremely important. It's really, people who study spirituality, study Kabbalah, for many years, they know the donation, it's extremely important. It's almost you create new relationship and creating the bank account an upper level, and you invest in spirituality in Malchut level, more practical. So the reason you should donate this month a little bit more than usual, it's like we usually donate on holidays a little bit higher because more cosmic energy open. But this month I recommend the most because it's Capricorn. Capricorn represent money, it represents sustenance as well, it represent achievement. And if you're going to donate more than you can, you create so to say more potential miracle for yourself. because as more you do, as more you can receive. But again, you don't do this in order to receive. You do because it's part of your essence. But if you're not there yet, it doesn't matter. You should do your homework and study and find more information about, because there's nothing more powerful. I'm going to repeat myself. There's nothing more powerful by concept of sharing and giving. And when you give more, a little bit than you can, you're going to receive more than you're supposed to. This is how powerful it is. This is my promise to you guys. But again, don't do with expectation. Do with much higher understanding. This is why knowledge is the key. When knowledge become wisdom, this is when it's really become the power machine inside of us. Okay, science. So what's happening right now? On January 13, we have Mercury retrograde, and it's retrograde until February 3rd and 4th. Now, what's really important for us to understand, when it's retrograde on January 13, it's actually staying Capricorn until March, basically until March 4th. And it's really unusual long time, as I mentioned in the beginning of my video. And what's really important as well, it's gonna constantly dance, so to say, around Mars. Mars gonna be there as well. Now, because it's gonna be Mars and it's gonna be in Capricorn, and it's gonna be conjunction on March 2nd with Saturn. So for all 12 signs, guys, anything you're planning to do certain during the retrograde, we need to limit it. Any new beginning, you need to be just more extra cautious. This is something you already heard from many astrologers. But one thing very, very important I want to mention to you guys, there's going to be a moment when it's going to have almost perfect conjunction, Saturn and Mercury, and it's going to be on March 2nd. So anything March 1st, 2nd, 3rd, we're going to until 4th, because on 4th, finally, Mercury going to travel to Aquarius, and it's going to be much more positive. We're going to right away feel completely different energy. But specifically on March 2nd and few days before and few days after, it's going to be stressful energy. Why? Because the Saturn, it's all about responsibility. It's going to provide a lot of pressure. And we're going to feel that we've been thrown to all directions, trying to figure out what to do. And on a more practical level, what's really important, to try to be balanced, as more balanced as possible, and not let your own mind and your own thoughts to mislead you, and as well to overwhelm you. So this is my very, very important tip to all 4 signs as well. Just watch this period of time, beginning of March until March 4th, before the Mercury will travel to Aquarius. Okay, guys, beautiful. So now we're going to start with 12 signs. My dear Gemini, for you, Mercury retrograde in the 8th house. So let's have an open conversation, Geminis. You, one of the signs who Mercury, it represents your 1st house and your 4th house in your natal chart. 1st house is the self house. It's you're all about Mercury. And the 4th house, it's about mother, it's about home, it's about stability. And 8th house, it's the house of transformation in other people understanding of sustenance, right? It's much deeper. It's very deep house, 8th house. It's not easy house for when Mercury retrograde, but because you, Gemini, so used to, and you are part of the Mercury, it's part of your essence. You just need to know how to control your own energy and your own thoughts. And because it represents 8th house, do not dig too much deep inside about past, what's happened. It's all about forgiveness. Remember, it's easy we can forgive. It's easy we can be forgiven from above, right? So for you, Gemini, you're unbelievable sign. If you think about, you're the only sign in the whole zodiac system represent 2 humans. It's the whole creation. It's all about that. And during the Gemini, we had one of the most amazing, one of my favorite holidays, which represents center column energy. It's called Shavuot, the giving of the Torah. And there was a reason why such a tremendous energy was was using the Gemini energy, was given the Torah. And what is the Torah? It's not just some book, it's the life organism. And you, Gemini, have so much knowledge inside of you. Your challenge how to balance with your mind in your speech and constantly pay attention the way how you speak. Try not to stink anyone because it's the eighth house, it's house of Scorpio. And remember, you have a strong nature, you have a strong relationship with that, right? And again, can't stress enough about donation. Very important to donate this period of time in order to establish strong relationship with the sign of with the sign of Capricorn and with your own essence. Okay, and you know what? Whatever the things coming, you keep inside of your brain, work over, and then after retrograde finish, you can put all your plans in action. Now it's all about homework. Okay, Gemini, I wish you guys all the best. Many, many blessings.